Nice close to the mic like that.
Is this good? Is this good?
Perfect.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, why don't you talk for a second, Andrew?
Hello. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
You're on. I should label these, right?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13,
Okay, thank you.
14.
And now you, Charlie.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I.
You can do numbers and letters?
I can do
Wow,
both, man.
you're so smart.
I'm a talented guy. I'm a talented
You.
guy.
Well, I've known that before.
I know.
You are talented.
Thank you.
Okay, don't be a wise ass. You're a very talented guy.
I try my best.
That was pretty remarkable. You're like in Charley Plummer. You're like in every scene in this movie. Is there a scene where you're not in this?
I don't think
This
there was.
is Andrew talking.
I don't think there was a shot actually that you're not in. I think you're in every single shot, even if it's like, yeah, you're in everything. There's not a single bit you're not in.
Yeah, I think so. I agree.
Which meant it was a hard working thing because you never got any time off whatsoever. You couldn't do anything without you.
Yeah.
You couldn't have had a body double during those like very
Long shots.
scenic evening walks in the desert. Could you with
I guess
Lean on
I
Pete.
could have, but I
No,
didn't.
I don't think you could have done.
No,
Like it still never
wouldn't
worked. You
have
still
worked.
see you.
Yeah. No, I don't think.
Well, you can tell the difference between these two voices. I don't have to just identify you guys. We have the director Andrew Haigh, who I'm thrilled to finally meet. I met you for a nanosecond at a party at BAM for a weekend.
For a weekend, yeah.
Which now
yeah.
reminds me where I saw it. I probably saw it at BAM Cinefest.
Yeah, there was their festival there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you were talking with a former high school. She's a little ahead of me, but she was. We had the same drama teacher in high school, Fran Drescher, which of all people.
Oh my gosh.
She was hanging out with Fran
Wait,
Drescher.
really?
It was
the nanny
really
herself.
weird.
Wait, why? What happened?
She was at this BAM screening, and in all honesty, I didn't know who she was at all because we never had her show in the UK, so I'd never
I love
seen
her
the
show,
What was the
man.
show that she was?
The Nanny.
Yeah.
We never had it in the UK, so everyone was like, "Oh, look who it is," and I don't know who that is. So I was having a nice chat with her, and I hadn't ever seen the Nanny.
She's very nice.
She was
I mean,
very
she's-
nice
right?
indeed.
Very-
Absolutely, yeah.
It is an odd, arbitrary memory to have. throw your way today is. And this is Zefrey Throwell, and he's a dear close friend. So we attended the screening last night of Lean on Pete, and I can't speak for Zefrey, but I was really moved by it. Found myself in tears a couple of times because I have a kid also, and it just was really beautifully directed.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Sorry I made you cry.
No,
I mean, I'm not sorry
He's
at all.
not sorry
I'm
at
not
all.
sorry. I'm glad that
It's
He
you...
loves it.
Did you cry?
I have no child, and I did not cry.
Oh, wow. All right. Next movie.
Well, I don't mean to suggest that people without children. I don't mean to suggest that people without children can't. I mean, we don't want to lose that demographic.
No,
'cause
exactly.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand it's rather significant.
Yeah.
But Charley Plummer, actor Charley Plummer, who, like we were just saying, is like in almost every moment of the film, if not every moment of the film, and really has to play a really. I think it's a challenging role, right? How much time? I know you probably shot it relatively quickly, right? Probably in about a 3-week, give or take, period.
No, we actually had a decent amount of time. And the good thing about working with someone that's younger is you have limited hours that you're allowed to work. So we can do 10 hours a day, which was quite nice because I don't like ever working more than 10 hours a day anyway. But we had, I think it was 7 weeks actually in the end of the shoot.
7?
days.
Yeah, it was 7. It was.
How does that happen?
Producer managed to get a decent schedule, and I can't stand. I mean, my other films have been actually 45 years was quite a long shoot as well.
Right, so 45 years.
But Weekend was a really short shoot. But I don't like to feel that things are rushed. You know, I think there's a certain.
Who does?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's just that they have no choice. Also.
yeah, they have no choice. But I think there was a way that that you can stretch the schedule. I didn't have lots of money or anything.
Right. Yeah.
But you just have to be, cunning and careful. And my producer's very good at making sure we have enough kind of time to shoot things. But also there was, we had to travel around the state a bit, so that meant the shoot had to be longer, and it takes longer to do things with horses. Like you inevitably has, it means that you can't shoot as much or as quickly as you would like necessarily.
Right, and it's hard to substitute. You had to have one horse play this
one
Lean on
horse.
Pete, right?
Yeah, it's just one horse.
Which is the horse is one of the main characters in the film, who was in I'd say a good 2/3 of the film at least. And even though in the first section of the film there's a lot of horses because Charley, your character, ends up working with a horse owner played by Steve Buscemi. And how long did you have Buscemi?
Only for like
Yeah, a couple of
8 days or something, or a week.
That's great,
or
Well, I
too.
think longer.
Well, he went away and then came back again.
Yeah, he
He came back again. Yeah. So we had, I think we had him. I mean, it's always strange when it was interesting because obviously Charlie's in every scene, so he's did the whole thing. But then these actors come in for like small periods of time. So
Right.
Steve comes in for however long it was, and Chloë was there for a week,
Chloë
and
Sevigny.
Steve Zahn was there for like 3 days, and whatever it is. So they come in at different points.
Right. So setting up the schedule. Now, Charlie, in the Q&A last night, I believe you said, unless correct me if I'm wrong, that you shot almost entirely in sequence,
That's
right?
correct.
Apart from one bit.
So-
Yeah,
We
there's
shot
one.
the bit with Steve Zahn. It had to be done earlier.
Yeah.
Which was quite strange to have to do that section early on, but just for
Other than
scheduling.
that, it was
thing.
almost entirely.
Yeah.
I think that was like. I think it was if it was 7 weeks. I think that was maybe the second or third week.
Yeah,
of
we did
shooting.
that earlier on.
So that whole sequence in
Okay.
Denver, but
Yeah.
Because isn't that tricky if you're getting Steve Buscemi and then you're getting Chloe? They were in the scenes together. So, but Steve Zahn was in a later section of the film. So I guess you figured that out. That wasn't a big obstacle.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
shooting in sequence.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of I mean, shooting in like, at least relative sequence is always slightly
better.
but it's definitely better. It's slightly difficult sometimes, just on a technical scheduling level. But my other films I've done completely in order, like on a very strict basis.
Yeah.
Or tried as much as I can. I think
Very
it's pretty
small
much
cast, very contained.
Yeah, it's
right, 45 years. Was in a just primarily your two lead actors.
Yeah,
right?
Charlotte Rampling and Tom Courtney. So it's mainly just them. So it was easier to do it completely in order. But I think it works for the actors. They like shooting in order. It's much nicer for them. They can, they can follow the course of the story. And for me, it's a lot better. Like I think when you're doing something that is subtle, I suppose, or you're trying to tell a story in a subtle way, something can change from one scene that will affect dramatically what goes on down the line. And you don't know what that's going to be. This is not a plot-driven movie. Like none of my films are particularly. So, shooting in order helps you develop as you're going along.
And it's clear you are interested. It's more than just clear in character-driven films. So it kind of seems like you could continue doing this. If you're continuing to want to work on character-driven films, it seems like that would accommodate your preference for shooting in sequence, at least almost entirely, right? Once you start to complicate things by locations or costume, if it's a period thing or what have you, that all starts to get compromised.
Yeah, it definitely does. The bigger the film is, the more complicated it gets. It can become virtually impossible. So then, I've never had to experience that. I think the thing I'm doing maybe after this might end up being a bit more like that. But it's, to me, character-driven drama is always what I want to do, whatever scale that takes. I mean, for me, personally, I don't. If I'm not making a film about character, I don't really know why I would bother making it. I think for me, that's always the fundamental key.
It struck me that the film was particularly American, and I wonder, you coming from another country, what drew you to that particular story?
I mean, it drew. When I read the novel, it was the fact that it was set in America. Even though I would like to make a film in America that deals with kind of American issues, it was that central character of Charlie and what he has to go through and I love the fact that it wasn't a story about identity, especially a teenage identity, or about someone discovering what they want from life. It was something more kind of essential than that. It was about someone desperately needing some kind of safety and some kind of security and feeling of protection and to be cared for. And to me, that transcended any place that it was set. So it could have been set in the UK or in France or in Australia or wherever. But I did like, the kind of exploration of America through the story. And I think as Europeans, we are inevitably drawn towards America. I mean, firstly, you have quite a powerful impact culturally around the world, so we see America
negatively and positively.
Exactly, yeah, exactly, in both forms. And I like America. I spent a lot of time in America. I've lived here on and off. I know the country relatively I mean, still on the surface, but I've traveled around a lot. I've been on loads of road trips. But I also think that as Europeans, shouldn't forget that most of America is populated by people that came from Europe. So I think there was something in the European mentality that is drawn towards the idea of America. Mm-hmm. So I think as European filmmakers, we sometimes want to look at that idea of what America is and try and explore that a little bit.
So did you see Charley and King Jack, and I guess you were also in the dinner? Is that the
Yeah, but dinner was made.
Or in Moverman's
Did you
been
make
on
the dinner after?
Yeah.
Lean on Pete?
No, before.
No, it was before. I saw King Jack after while we were looking into Charley, and after I saw his audition, I then watched King Jack. And really, I think it's a really, really good film, and Charley's fantastic in it, and it was really great for us because it was like, oh yeah, we're fine. Charley's going to be great.
Charley, where did you always have the acting bug, or how did you get just sort of end up being an actor?
Not at all. I mean, my parents worked in the theater world, and so I was always kind of around it, but I grew up, I was really, really shy and terrified of public speaking, and I think, I mean, I'm still a pretty shy person, but I think that something about it, I think the reason I fell in love with film was really, I mean, the kind of films that Andrew makes. I think when you're able to just sit with these people and have that kind of an experience with a film, I think those instantly, that was like, those are the kinds of things I want to do, and I think those are the kinds of things that I would be good at, because I'm not really a showy person, and I'm not very good at like just making my audience feel a kind of way or get a laugh or anything like that. I've never been talented at that. So I think when I was old enough to be able to see films, like 45 Years or Weekend, or, see these performances, that there was just a tremendous amount of confidence in the audience to be able to sit with these performers and experience what their lives were like in these characters. I think that's what really got me into it, and I was just fortunate that Andrew wanted to work with me. But
your parents are in the I would say that's a fortunate turn of events for a young actor to get such great directors. You said your parents were in the theater?
Yeah. So my dad's a writer and theater director, and my mom's an actress. So I was always kind of around it, and they had a Shakespeare festival in upstate New York, and so I would always be around that environment.
Yeah, sure.
And so I was able to see it pretty up close and personal, and I think that's what made it kind of easy for me to get into it. But, I don't know. I think the idea of like being a celebrity or anything like that was really kind of scary for me. I think that's why, theater in a way was really my introduction, and what I fell in love with first, because it wasn't that at all. It was really just that, playing on a stage.
Absolutely.
Playing in that moment.
So I imagine the Plummer family was on the set coaching Charley.
Yeah, your mom was there. Your dad never came on set.
No, my dad didn't show.
He knew better. Because he's a director. He respects another director.
Well, your dad came to Venice when we premiered there. And it was like,
is that where the world premiere for the film was?
Yeah, and I remember we finished the film and, turn around and your dad was just in floods of tears.
Oh yeah,
that
was a tough one to watch. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, you go.
I was going to say one of my favorite things about the film is how you start the film kind of relatively clean, right, and then you just get grimy. And by the end, you are filthy, right? And I was wondering what your feelings were on that. Just right, having to spend 7 weeks very dirty.
Until he broke into that house and borrowed their laundry machine.
Yeah, I think it's funny. A lot of the films I've done, I've spent a lot of the film dirty.
You have. Not
bloodied.
Oren Moverman's film aside.
Yeah, Oren Moverman's film aside. That's true. Although in that, I do some bad stuff. So, whether it's emotionally or physically dirty, I feel like that's an area that I'm particularly comfortable with diving into. And I think it was very helpful that we shot in sequence the majority of the time, because, physically too, and whether it be with the makeup, whether it be with the costume, I felt like, and Andrew was just speaking on this, so much of, I think, the environment that Charley is in should really be reflecting how he is operating internally. And so whether that be in the clothes that he's wearing, or the look of him, and you should really feel like that's having an effect. And I just remember the first time we did like a makeup test, and I looked in the mirror. It was really impactful for me to see myself like that. And I think towards the end of the film, this is a character whose self-confidence and self-worth is so low that that's really what they should be seeing when they look in the mirror. And I think there's even a small scene towards the end of the film where he does look at himself in the mirror, and literally look at himself in the mirror and see himself and almost can't even recognize who he is. And I think that was a really important thing.
Did you get to keep the belt? Your belt?
I did get to keep the belt.
I've got one too.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I've got one too.
I wear it all the time. I really do. I love that
It's a
belt.
cool belt.
It's a cool belt, man. I get a lot of compliments on it.
Yeah, it's a cool belt.
How soon, Andrew, did A24? Did they come in pretty early in the thing, or even
so
before you started?
They came in before we shot it. So
so that helped with the 7-week schedule, I assume.
Yeah, so it helped. I mean, I think the majority of the money still came from the UK, so it's Film BFI, who also put money into 45 Years. So they were the primary backers of the film, and then essentially A24 pre-bought it at script level.
I see. Can you talk to the BFI about their logo? There was there was rumbling in the audience about their logo. They could do a better job, I think.
Although they put out beautiful things, they fund beautiful things.
Yeah.
The question I had for you is very emotional movie, right? In this descent into griminess, it really highlighted how close everyone really is to the edge, I feel, right? Because you get dirty, your clothes get old, and then all of a sudden everyone around you in society treats you as a leper, right? And this is one of the things that I thought so beautifully highlighted. What do you think was the most difficult scene that you guys filmed?
I think it's so strange what the hardest scenes are, because there's often things that are hard on a technical level. Like, for example, there's a scene when Pete loses the race at Portland Meadows and Charley has to come out of the racetrack and the horses are losing. Technically, that was very difficult because we had one shot. We couldn't race the horses more than once because we couldn't afford to race them any more times. Right, and it's a complicated Steadicam shot and everything has to be working at the same time. So things like that are very, very difficult. And then the scene, I think, with Pete towards the end, that I won't say too much about, was very difficult to achieve, both technically, because we decided foolishly to do it at sunset, so you have like a 20-minute window to shoot it, and it's a very technically complicated shot, but also, aside from all that, it's emotionally difficult, and, so that was very hard. And then it's often then little scenes that you don't think are going to be necessarily difficult, that you're trying to find some kind of subtle truth in, that become really complicated. And I always think, once I've got one scene over and done with, I think, tomorrow's going to be easy. And then you get on set and you're like, oh, no, this is difficult too. Like, it's often small things.
That you don't always anticipate.
And I'm sure it's the same for an actor, because each day, everything can go wrong all over again. Yeah. And, there's so much that has to go right for a scene to be even, like, halfway good. Like, I think that's always the case. And I think sometimes I wish that when you're starting out as a director, it's important you realise that. Like, every scene is a challenge. Every scene is, have I got it? Is it any good? Does it work? And I don't think that ever changes. I think it's the same every time you go on set.
Lean on Pete is being distributed by A24. It's directed by Andrew Haigh, who finally got to be on my podcast, Filmwax Radio, it's called. I'm so thrilled. And stars Charley Plummer and a few other people, including Steve Buscemi, Chloë Sevigny Steve Zahn, you mentioned, and the actress who played, she has a relatively small role as a relative of
Alison Elliott.
Alice Elliott. Yeah. Who is she, and why is it that...
she was in Wings of a Dove a long, long time ago. I didn't remember that film, and she was great in that film.
She's very... Yeah. I was expecting like almost a cameo from somebody for some reason, because there was such a build-up to this particular role, this really character. But we're not going to talk about it. Thank you guys so much for coming on and doing this, and good luck with when is it going to... I know it must have a theatrical setup.
April the 6th.
So that's coming right up.
New York and LA, and then expanding after that.
So we'll see you in New York. People should check out the April 6th.
Yes.
And then the 13th in LA, or is it the same
day?
It's
April 6th in LA and New York, and then expanding out after that.
Very right. Depending on you listeners.
Yeah, exactly. Watch. Go to the cinema.
Support a great dramatic film. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.